Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really zeroing in on something pretty fundamental to spiritual life. Our source material actually ranks it, second only to understanding your core beliefs.
Yeah, it's huge. We're talking about rest, or as it's sometimes put, anxy spiritual rest.
And this is crucial, isn't it? Because the analysis we've got here suggests this concept of rest. Well, it's maybe one of the most misunderstood ideas out there.
Totally. People get the idea of rest, sure, but they keep trying to define it by what it looks like on the outside. They try to narrow it down.
And then what happens? It turns into this checklist, right? The sources call it a new law.
Exactly, a new set of rules.
Yeah.
And that's the paradox, isn't it? This new law about resting, it doesn't bring peace at all. It just creates a whole different kind of stress.
So our mission today really is to unpack that. How does this really profound spiritual truth gets so twisted up? How does a promise of peace end up feeling like just another demand?
Well, let's start with the wrong idea first. Because if you don't spot the counterfeit, you'll never really appreciate the real thing.
Okay.
The sources spend quite a bit of time on these people who look very spiritual. They talk the talk,
Right, using all the right language.
Yeah, but deep down, the text says they're still driven by what it calls carnal motives.
Okay.
There hasn't been that deep internal shift.
And these folks, the source calls them super spiritual, kind of ironically, I think.
Definitely ironically. They often grab onto this idea of rest, but they use it as a cover.
A cover for what?
Well, sometimes it's just, frankly, laziness, but often it's more subtle. It's a way to avoid challenges, avoid things that require real growth or effort because they feel uncomfortable.
Like a shield, almost.
It really is. It can hide a fear of failure, too. The source gives this really striking example. Someone avoiding something demanding, like a big university entrance exam.
Okay.
And the reason they give is that the stress, the anxiety of studying, well, it destroys my rest.
Wow. So instead of finding rest during the hard time?
They try to set up these external rules. Okay, for me to have rest, I must have zero worry. Or I can't do any strenuous work. Condition 1, condition 2, condition 3.
Ah, the checklist again.
You got it. And as soon as life throws a curveball, a tough deadline, maybe a family issue, something that breaks rule number 3, their conclusion is...
Okay, this thing broke my rest. I can't do it.
Precisely. And the analysis we reviewed is crystal clear. That's just legalism dressed up in spiritual clothes. It's still all about them managing their circumstances perfectly to earn some inner state.
Wait, hang on. If they're avoiding something because it makes them anxious, how is that legalism? Isn't legalism about doing good deeds to earn points?
That's a great question. And this is where the source's definition is so helpful. They argue legalism isn't just about rule following. It's a whole mindset, a mindset built on self-righteousness. The core belief is, if I meet this standard, whether the standard is external, like good works, or internal, like feeling perfectly calm, then God owes me. He has to bless me or protect me.
Ah, I see. So trying to achieve that perfect inner calm so you can say you're resting, that's just applying the same performance pressure to your soul.
You nailed it. It's legalism turned inward.
That completely changes how you look at it. So if my sense of rest can be shattered by, a difficult meeting or a traffic jam,
then it probably wasn't that genuine spiritual rest to begin with. It was more like a fragile peace you constructed.
Which brings us then to the real deal, moving from my effort to something else.
To revelation. Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack the core truth then. The material really leans on that verse. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest.
Yes. That word give is everything. It flips the whole script.
How so?
It defines rest not as something we do, but something we receive. The source is emphatic. Rest is a gift. It's a revelation. It's absolutely not a decision we make, an attitude we adopt, or something we achieve through trying harder.
And that explains the confusion, doesn't it? Because society, historically praises hard work, pushing through, the hustle.
Right. Diligence, persistence. These are seen as top virtues. So when people hear spiritual rest, they instinctively try to apply that same work ethic. They try to earn rest by working really hard at being peaceful.
Like it's another project. Achieve inner peace.
Exactly. Like saving for retirement. You put in the effort now for a payoff later. But the insight here is that rest is the result of divine action, of Jesus's work. It's not the result of our thinking or our striving.
So you can't separate the rest from the giver of the rest.
You absolutely can. If you try to get that peaceful state through your own willpower, your own methods, you're right back in that legalistic loop we talked about.
Okay, so if the big mistake is trying too hard, This leads to maybe the most provocative idea in the source material,
which is,
the idea that effort itself can become an idol.
yeah, that one stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The material basically says when you rely primarily on your own striving, your smarts, your hard work, your endurance, you're ultimately trusting yourself.
And that self-reliance becomes a form of self-worship, idolatry.
That's the argument. You're trusting your own capacity above all else.
And they connect this all the way back to Genesis, right? The origin of toil.
They do. After the fall, Adam is told he'll eat only through toil, through sweat, struggle. The phrase coil captures that sense of wearisome labor.
And that toil, that struggle, is framed as a curse.
Yes, explicitly. It's this burden of having to expend your life force, your time, just to survive, just to get basic needs met. That whole effort-reward cycle, you reap what you sow. That's just the standard operating procedure of the world under the curse.
But the source argues believers are meant to be freed from that.
That's the claim. Released from that curse logic, where your survival depends solely on your output.
That's a huge difference. The curse logic is work yourself to the bone or you won't make it. The rest logic says your provision, your strength comes from somewhere else.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, why do people rely so much on their own effort? The sources suggest it often stems from a deep spiritual lack, a lack of trust in the divine.
Which they frame as a lack of God's love inside. That seems like a big leap. How does my trying hard equate to a lack of love?
Well, think about the motivation. Someone constantly striving out of their own strength is often driven by fear, aren't they?
Fear of what?
Fear of not having enough, fear of failing, fear of poverty. They're desperately trying to secure their own well-being.
Okay. So it's fundamentally self-protective, maybe even selfish.
It can easily become that, yeah.
Right.
It can lead to bitterness, jealousy when you see others succeed without seeming to try as hard. You're operating from a place of perceived scarcity, a deficit.
Right. The focus isn't really on serving others. It's on making sure I'm okay.
Got it. But contrast that with someone operating from genuine received rest. They're starting from a place of abundance, spiritually speaking. They feel secure.
So their motivation for working is different.
Completely. It's driven by love, by a desire to contribute, to help others, because they aren't consumed by fear for themselves. That's why Jesus could say, I don't receive glory from men. So much human effort, even good deeds, can be unconsciously aimed at getting that human approval, that man's glory.
Which is just another flavor of self-righteousness.
Exactly.
This makes that warning in Deuteronomy suddenly very relevant. You know, when the Israelites were about to enter the Promised Land.
Yeah, the land flowing with milk and honey.
They were told they'd find cities they didn't build, houses full of good things they didn't fill, wells they didn't dig.
The blessing was all prepared for them. A gift.
But the warning was sharp. Be careful. Be careful not to forget who gave it. Don't start thinking,
my own power and the strength of my hands produced this wealth for me. Or my own righteousness got me this.
So even good qualities we have, like being diligent or talented, which are themselves gifts if we take the credit.
We fall right back into self-righteousness. It's a polar opposite of received rest.
Okay, this is huge, which leads us, I think, to the practical side. What does this look like? Because it sounds like rest could just be an excuse for doing nothing.
And that's the great paradox.
Right.
True rest, the kind we're talking about, doesn't lead to laziness or complacency. It actually leads to greater effectiveness, more capacity.
The Martha and Mary thing.
Classic example. Martha was busy, yes, but also stressed, anxious, even resentful, complaining about your sister.
While Mary was resting at Jesus's feet, she chose the better portion.
Right. And significantly later on, it's Mary who has the insight and the strength for that incredibly profound act of anointing Jesus. Her prior rest fueled her later action.
So the typical mindset is work hard, then rest. Martha's logic.
But the source material, in Mary's example, flips it. Rest comes first. You receive that divine enablement, that peace, that strength.
And then that becomes the engine, the driving force for whatever you need to do.
Precisely. It's the sustainable energy source. Self-effort burns out. Received rest renews.
Okay, let's try and summarize this for everyone listening. What are the key takeaways? The source listed like 5 practical results of living in this kind of rest.
Yeah, let's run through them first. Rest is basically the ongoing process of kicking out those idols of self-reliance and choosing to depend on the giver instead.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, it's about leaving that self-righteous attitude behind. It's consciously giving the credit, the glory, back to the source of your strength and ability.
Good. Third one was more tangible.
Right. Third, genuine rest actually results in better physical and mental health. You're not constantly draining your own battery. You're living out that vitality, that energy of the new creation.
Okay. Fourth,
rest is really the internal state of a mature believer. It's not defined by checking boxes on external behavior. It's about the posture of the heart.
got it. And the fifth one is crucial, especially thinking back to that super spiritual excuse.
Right. Fifth, true rest is the driving force for more effective work, study, service, everything. It is absolutely not an excuse to dodge challenges, give in to fear, or just be lazy.
So the sources are really saying someone living in this rest isn't afraid.
Fundamentally, no. Because their ability, their capacity isn't coming from them. It's external, it's constant. So they can genuinely approach any task. The source even echoes that idea. I can do all things.
Through him who strengthens me, because the strength isn't based on my own limited skills or energy level.
Exactly. Rest empowers you. It doesn't sideline you.
So this deep dive, it really shows that this spiritual rest,
Right.
it's not the finish line we struggle towards by managing ourselves better.
No, it's a starting block. It's something we receive. And you can kind of tell the difference, can't you? If your feeling of peace is brittle, easily broken by circumstances, it was probably something you achieved.
But if your rest holds up, even when things are stressful or difficult,
Then it's likely the real deal, the received gift.
So, as we wrap up, here's something to think about, drawing from what we've discussed. If effort, even our best efforts, our persistence, our talents, if those things can become idols, reflect on your own life. Where might your greatest strength, the thing you rely on most, the thing you're maybe most proud of achieving through your own willpower, where might that be functioning as your most powerful, unrecognized idol?
That's a searching question.
And how would facing your next big challenge look different if you deliberately chose to start from a place of received rest instead of just gritting your teeth and relying on your own achieved effort?
Yeah. What changes when the source of your strength shifts? That's really the heart of it.
Lots to think about there. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.